All those years ago when I had first test driven the WRV, there were certain things about the car that I wasn't very sure about. To begin with, it had rather unconventional looks, a drive which was a little uninspiring, and overall it seemed like a quirky package. There has been nothing quirky about the sales though, as the WRV has fared reasonably well for Honda. Now, Honda has brought in the updated 2020 WRV, and it promises subtle changes on the outside, a more premium feel inside the cabin, and of course BS6 compliant petrol and diesel engine options. Today we're taking a closer look at the 2020 WRV, so stay tuned. Personally, I still think the WRV looks like what would happen if an SUV got cozy with a hatchback. Yes, it's a crossover, but the new one now in the WRV gets subtle benefits courtesy the really sharp projector LED headlights. The horizontal paneling is again very nice and sits nicely with the very familiar and very imposing Honda chrome grille. The fog lights now sit in a more imposing black casing. This diesel version gets 16-inch alloys, which adds a peppy flair to the car from the side, even if the body lines are mostly similar to the previous version. The rear portion of the WRV is also undeniably well WRV, with minor tweaks to the boomerang-shaped LED lights. Most people still like to officially categorize the WRV as a sub-4 meter SUV, but to me, in terms of how it looks and appears and stands, it is a crossover. Nothing more and nothing less. The cabin of the WRV has always been practical and adequately spacious. It's probably not fair to compare the previous model with the slew of newer arrivals, but the new WRV does get nicely contoured front seats which are adequately comfortable. The boot is also large, largest in its segment actually, and the rear seats go down for more space. So yes, there is a lot of space for your luggage, but there is also a lot of space for you as the passenger on the rear. Now this seat is once again for my driving position, and I like it all the way pulled back, but as you can see, there is more than adequate, it's very generous knee room here. The under thigh support is also very adequate, and the headroom is, well, nothing much to complain about. But I do have complaints that I don't get rear AC vents. So as I'm speaking to you, I'm sweating, and I would have loved a rear AC vent here. Also, a charging point for my phone would have been great. I mean, come on, it's really a standard now in cars in this segment or a segment below or segment above. So no, I'll have to ask front passengers to charge my phone. So the space is fantastic. The missing rear AC vents and a little bit of features here and there is that last mile that Honda could have taken. Charging your phone or controlling the AC, or even making use of the 7-inch updated infotainment screen wouldn't be a problem at all for the front passenger and the driver. The quality of the cabin is acceptable yet again for a car in this price bracket, but the one major complaint I still have is that the screen, much like in the new City, still looks rather mundane, and much like in the City, is deceptively reflective under direct sunlight. So yes, this diesel engine is BS6 compliant, of course, but having said that, it is making quite a lot of noise, and that's really not too good, because it's a little unnerving, the amount of noise that's on the outside. And while I think Honda has worked on the NVH levels overall, and the road noise is not all that much, the diesel noise is probably even masking it. So overall, not really happy with how much grunt the diesel engine makes. I know a lot of people who like diesel engines also like the accompanying grunt that goes with it, but to me it's a little unnerving, and even in city conditions where you're not really pushing the car, it is a bit of a problem. Spoken quite a lot about the diesel engine and the noise it's making, but the engine is also really peppy. The slick gear shifts are really nice, and the car sort of keeps moving forward, keeps pushing itself forward without you having to really adjust the gear ratios. I still like the steering wheel on the WRV. It's nicely weighted and it plays a good tag team sort of game with the suspension unit to make the car really steady and stable. Taking turns in the WRV is very simple because once again the steering is just the right mix of weight and being a little light. So there is some feedback, not a lot of it, but the precise inputs that I give to the car when I'm, say, making a turn, something like this. Yep, no sweat at all. The car is also benefiting from a suspension setup that's really nicely done, so most of the speed bumps are no problem whatsoever for the WRV. The new WRV gets updates which are subtle, yet for the most part sensible. It's very easy to break down the WRV into what I like and what I don't like. So let's start with what I do not like. The diesel engine makes a whole lot of noise. The car still is a rather quirky one to look at, and the feature list unfortunately is just not good enough to take on its rivals. But what I do love is that the WRV continues to be a very practical car with a lot of space on the inside for passengers and the driver. It drives really well and the diesel engine is quite fun. That's our review of the 2020 edition of the WRV. What do you think about the car? Do let us know and stay tuned for more such auto reviews.